Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna.
The push pins are short, they're not long.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Yes, ma'am.
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare। प्रेम से बोलिए। कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, हरे Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare बोलिए बोलिए। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्णा, हरे हरे, प्रेम से बोलिए।
Krishna
बोलिए हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो 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 कृष्णा 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 सभी लोग प्रेम से गाइए राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All good Shri Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, verse 31. And the chapter is entitled How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. And we're happy to have His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu with us. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Vanchakraptibhyascha Kritisindhavevya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavevya Namo Namaha. And it's all yours, Prabhu.
It is. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari.
Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Jamuna Tira Banachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jamuna Tira Banachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana.
Jamunatira Vanachari.
Yamuna Thira Vanachari.
Jamunatira Vanachari.
Yamuna Thira Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jamuna Mai Ki Jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shamaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutade Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 16th chapter, 31st verse. How Maharaj Parikit, something the age of Kali, right? Welcome the age of Kali. No.
Received.
Received, that's right. Received. All right. Atmanang chanushochami bhavantam chamarottamam devam pitrin rishin sadhun sarvan varnang statashraman. Atmanam chanushochami bhavantam chamarottamam devan pitrin rishin sadhun sarvan varnang statashraman. Atmanam chanushochami bhavantam chamurottamam devan pitrin rishin sadhun Sarvan Varnang Statashraman.
Atmanam chanuchoshami bhavantam chamarottamam Devan Pitrin Rishin Sadhun Sarvan Varnam Tatashraman. Hare Krishna.
One more person, please. You can do it. Come on. No?
One more person?
Doesn't look like we're going to get a
Doesn't look like.
buy-in. Okay. Atmanam, myself. Cha, also. Odoso chami, lamenting. Bhavantam, yourself. Cha, as well as Amaru Uttamam, the best among the demigods. Devan, about the demigods. Pitrin, about the denizens of the Pitri Loka planet. Rishin, about the sages. Shadhun, about the devotees. Sarvan, all of them. Varnan, sections. Tata, as also. Ashraman, orders of human society. Translation. I am thinking about myself also, O best among the demigods, about you, as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitriloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of Varna and Ashrama in human society. Purport. To effect the perfection of human life, there's cooperation between men and demigods, sages, denizens of the Pitriloka, devotees of the Lord, and the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama orders of life. The distinction between human life and animal life, therefore, begins with the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama, guided by the experience of the sages in relation with the demigods, gradually rising to the summit of reestablishing our eternal relation with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. When God made Varnashram Dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness, and human consciousness into godly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed. In the age of Kali, the first attack of the venomous snake strikes against the God-made Varnashram Dharma, and thus a person properly qualified as a Brahmin is called a Shudra, and a Shudra by qualification is passing as a Brahmin, all on a false birthright claim. To become a Brahmin by a birthright claim is not at all bona fide, although it may be a fulfillment of one of the conditions. But the real qualification of a Brahmin is to control the mind and the senses, and to cultivate tolerance, simplicity, cleanliness, knowledge, truthfulness, devotion, and faith in the Vedic wisdom. In the present age, consideration of the necessary qualification is being neglected, and the false birthright claim is being supported even by a popular, sophisticated poet, the author of Ramcharitamanas. This is all due to the influence of the age of Kali. Thus, Mother Earth, represented as a cow, was lamenting the regrettable condition. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitang Jaina Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadah Mahyam Dadati Sha Pandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prior to speaking, I would like to ask the blessings and permissions from all the devotees, and particularly those who are maybe senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So this verse is spoken, you know who it's spoken by?
Dharma is asking the question to the cow, Mother Earth.
And who's saying?
And
So
Mother
who's,
Earth is lamenting, answering
yeah,
back.
she's
to
responding.
the-
She's responding to.
Yes.
It is very similar to when previously we read about Arjuna returning from Dwarka after he went there to learn from Lord Krishna about his program of work, and Maharaj Yudhishthir noticing Arjuna's look of being very disconsolate. He said, well, is it because of this? Is it because of that? So many different ideas and thoughts were he speculated about, which might have been the cause of Arjun's unhappiness. So then finally, Arjun, he revealed that the cause of his unhappiness was
Arjun's cause killing his own people, his family members?
no, those are also there, but the root cause was because Lord Krishna had left the planet at that time.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So similarly here, Dharma and Bhumi, the bull and the cow, Dharma is looking, even though he's on only one leg. And don't ask me how a bull can be standing on one leg. I don't know how that's possible. Of course, he was somehow he's a demigod, so I guess he can do it. But he was standing on one leg, and he noticed though that the cow, representing Mother Earth, Bhumi, was looking also very sad and disconsolate. So he was asking, oh, all these different things. Is it because of this? And all of those different ideas that he described were all symptoms of the age of Kali, which we've gone over a couple of times now. And then he also then added, or is it because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no longer on the earth? And he said just in the previous verse that in him only, Lord Sri Krishna, all these good qualities, and he listed a bunch of good qualities, are there, the source of all those good qualities, the reservoir of all those wonderful qualities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada would also often quote a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yasyasti Bhakti Bhagavatya Kinchana Sarvara Gunas Tatra Samasate Sura. He said that those who are connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they develop all good qualities. Harava Bhaktasya Kuto Mahadguna. But even those people who have, they may be very highly placed, but if they don't have devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, their apparent good qualities will be soon vanquished or disappear because they're on the mental plane. So the bull is described, he gave the list of all these wonderful qualities. And then here, let's look at the verse again. And so this is the cow responding, I'm thinking about myself also, O best among the demigods, and about you. So it's almost as if she's saying, well, what's going to happen to us? What will happen to us in this age of Kali, with all these different things that you mentioned, especially with the disappearance of Lord Krishna? So this same query applies to all of us as well. So many challenges are there in the age of Kali that were mentioned previously, and it's very difficult to maintain our spiritual focus, remembering the purpose of life in the midst of this Kali Yuga environment and atmosphere. Just like the cow, what's going to happen to us? What will happen to us now in this situation that we find ourselves? And Srila Prabhupada, he focuses off the bat on the diminishing of the varnashram system, 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. The varnas are brahmachari, grihastha, the varnas are, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And in the Vedas and also Bhagavad Gita, the duties for all these different varnas are given. And the ashramas are brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. This system of varnashram was set up by Lord Krishna. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's not just something speculated about, somebody manufactured it, but Krishna says, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam. I created it. Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam. Guna Karma Vibhagasha. And Prabhupada very nicely cites that the purpose of the Varnashram system was to bring people out of animal life to human life. What is the difference between an animal and a human being?
Intelligence, Prabhu.
Yes.
And also human beings, we can use our bodies in service to the Lord. We can chant, we can preach, we can use our intelligence, whereas that is not in the animal kingdom, lack of a better word.
Yes, of course, animals have a certain intelligence as well. So the human beings are supposed to have a higher intelligence. And if we use the higher intelligence just for the animal propensities, that's a stumbling block or a misuse of our qualities, of our resources. Srila Prabhupada would call that misers, miserly men, because misers have riches but don't use it properly, or they just keep it in their, under their mattress or someplace. So even intelligent, Srila Prabhupada would sometimes describe modern human beings as dvipada pashu. Pashu means animal, and dvipada means 2-legged animals, he would say. Dvipada pashu. And he would quote that verse, dharmena hina pashubi shamana, that the human beings without religion or this varnashram system, that's just in human society without any understanding of religion, that's animal life. Somebody might be a very well-dressed animal and have degrees from various certificates, diplomas from various institutions. But if the focus is only on the physical body, the same business is there only in the animals. That's the only interest a person might have. So this is, Srila Prabhupada makes this point again and again about the difference between human life and animal life and the purpose of human life. We have a certain finite number of years, hours, and minutes, and it's been given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an opportunity to make progress, to understand our eternal position as a servant of God. But especially in the age of Kali, we get distracted to so many other occupations, interests, entertainments. So this is a foreboding danger, as mentioned here by the cow. It won't be good for us. In our long run, we'll be defeated in our attempts for interests, happiness, pleasure, etc. So Srila Prabhupada mentions here in the first part of the purport, and it's also there in the verse, that there's a cooperation between the human beings, sages, and the demigods, which is very interesting. We don't usually think of that. I don't certainly think of that, that there's a cooperation between men and demigods and the denizens of Pitriloka. What is that cooperation? You follow? It's there in the first, yeah. What is that? What is that?
Serving the Lord so that they benefit each other. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we could say. I mean, we devotees don't worship the demigods, although they do in a sense, as you mentioned, by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then by serving the root of the tree, all the leaves, branches, etc., are satisfied. So in the Vedas, there are many different sacrifices that are recommended for worshiping various demigods at different times. But there's a background awareness that the necessities of life are not just coming automatically, but they're being provided by the empowered representatives of the Supreme Lord in his administrative state, those demigods. So Bhagavad Gita says, if we take all these benefits from the demigods and don't give recognition and something back, then we're this is miserly, you know. So there's a recognition in the Varnashram system that our resources are coming from higher powers, demigods, and that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is above those demigods, and therefore it behooves us to offer sacrifice, give something back. And ultimately, for the Vaishnava, ultimately giving back means to give back something to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the source and the center of all the demigods. So what we think about, how can we engage in devotional service to Krishna, something very tangible. So in this age of Kali, there are many sacrifices that one can do, but the most important sacrifice that we do is to chant the holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's japa, and there's also kirtan, and we should do both as much as possible. sometimes, we go to the temple maybe once a week or something, and there's a kirtan for a little bit, but that's not very much kirtan, is it? Lord Chaitanya used to, he would, his being the example for us as showing how to be a devotee, he would have kirtan, he would do kirtan every night for several hours, every single night. For years it went on. When he was in Navadvip and also when he was in Jagannath Puri. And when he traveled to South India, he stopped along the way in many, many temples. And then everywhere he went, guess what he did? Kirtan, Sankirtan, everywhere. Even he went sometimes to the temples of the demigods. And this was surprising to the Vaishnavas in that area, because usually there's a separation between the worshippers of demigods like Shiva, Ganesh, Lakshmi, etc., and the worshippers of Vishnu. So, for example, the Ramanujas, those followers of the Sri Sampradaya, they forbid or they look down upon worshippers of various demigods. So they were surprised to see Lord Chaitanya sometimes going into the temples of demigods and offering obeisances. But what he did inside that temple, he didn't have a demigod kirtan, he had Hari Kirtan, because he realized and he understood, oh, all these demigods, they're the servants of Krishna. They're the servants of the Lord. So their best situation is they can be glorified in relationship to their service to Krishna. So that was a little surprising to those in Vaishnavas in South India, but he did that very, very much there. So the system of Varnashram, this focuses in this age primarily on arranging for people and participating ourselves regularly in the chanting of the holy names of God. Then Srila Prabhupada makes the point here also, which he makes it quite often, that not only the disturbance of the human society is caused by the breakdown of our Varnashram system, but primarily or most importantly by the misunderstanding and misrepresentation of those who call themselves Brahmins, but in reality have no qualification as being Brahmins. The qualifications of the Brahmin are given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. You might know them. Shama, Dhamma, Tapa, Shaucham, Kshantir, Arjavam, Evacha, Jnana, Vijnana, Astikyam, Brahma Karma Svabhavajam. Shama, equanimity, peacefulness. So, yeah, we'll have to think about this a little bit later, but Shama, Dhamma, sense control. Think about these in relation to the leaders of today. Sama, Dhamma, sense control. Sama, Dhamma, Tapa, austerities. Shaucham, austerities, right? Austerities. In the Krishna consciousness movement, minimum austerity, minimum, no eating of meat, fish, or eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication, even coffee, tea, no gambling. Tapa. And beyond that, there's other austerities, chanting, those who are making good progress, chanting minimum of 16 rounds the Hare Krishna Mahamantra daily. Fasting on Ekadashi, at least from grains and beans, observing different festivals in relation to the Lord. And besides that, making some regular substantial contribution and service to the Lord, either from a monetary standpoint or from a time, talent, effort, energy standpoint, using that energy for the service of the Lord. We're not in a, we're not yet at the perfectional stage. So that means we need to improve our quality and quantity of service, whatever our position is. At least I'm not. So I need to improve it too, for sure. So sama, dhamma, tapa, austerity. Shaucham, cleanliness. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned above that cleanliness means, he said, taking bath twice daily. At least twice daily. Of course, Brahmins oftentimes in the traditional sense would do it 3 times daily, but at least twice daily. Shaucham, kshanti, forgiveness, tolerance. Arjavam. Arjavam means honesty. Jnana, knowledge. Vijnana, realized knowledge. Realized knowledge means you actually practice what you preach. Practice jnana, vijnanam, astikyam, religiosity. Astikya, as opposed to nastikya. Astikya means religiosity, understanding the scriptures. Study the scriptures. Brahma karma svabhavajam. These are the qualities of the Brahmin. Then there's the actions, the duties of the Brahmin. Yajan, patan, dana, patigraha. You know this? Yajan. They practice, do sacrifices, and yajan, they teach others how to do sacrifice. Patan, they learn it in the scriptures, and they teach others the scriptures. Patan. And dana, they give in charity. Patigraha, they accept in charity. This is the Brahminical life. These are the qualities of the Brahmin. So unfortunately, within the Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada mentions that even very well-received and respected poets, they take Brahminical life or Brahminical status as being something that's just a result of a birth situation from family life, birth. And you know what the Ramcharitamanas is?
I don't, Prabhu. I'm guessing it's Ramayan.
Yeah, good guess. But it's not really Ramayan. Ramayan was in Sanskrit, and so there are different versions of Ramayan. Even during the time of Parikshit Maharaj, there were different versions of the Ramayan. But Ramcharitamanas is that version of the Ramayan that was written in Hindi for popular consumption by a poet named Tulsidas in the 14th, 15th century. He wrote it, but it's not consistent with the Valmiki Ramayana. There are quite a few differences, and this is one difference, that he accepts someone by a birthright claim as a Brahmin instead of by quality. So one should be very careful about what source one gets one information from, because even a popular, sophisticated poet can lead us astray. Misunderstandings. Why? He didn't really come in the disciplic succession, bona fide disciplic succession. That's why. So Ramcharitamanas, there's some Prabhupada sometimes would quote from Ramcharitamanas, but it's not always consistent with the Vaishnava philosophy promulgated by the Gaudiya Sampradaya or any of the 4 bona fide Vaishnava Sampradayas. And so, Srila Prabhupada is making this point about the Brahmin by qualification, not by birth. And we've heard it again and again in this section and other sections that we've come through in this Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? And when I first read this purport, I found myself kind of thinking, oh, he's making that point again. Srila Prabhupada is making that point again. And kind of, I admit, I would say, oh yeah, I know this, I know that point. Why do we have to hear that one again? I mean, not all, but some part of me was saying that. Does that make sense? Okay.
I
So
agree with that too a lot, Prabhu.
yeah, so I thought, well, I'd better listen to what I'm saying, because that kind of thought is not very helpful for my spiritual advancement. So then I thought, well, what are the results? What's the consequences of accepting a Brahmin by birthright as opposed to a Brahmin by qualification? Why is it such a big deal that Srila
Prabhu,
Prabhupada? Go ahead.
Brahman by birthright, what's coming to my mind is, like Dronacharya's son, Ashwatthama. He was a Brahmin by birthright, but it's not like he followed to the principles.
Yes. Yeah, even though he was Dronacharya's son, he took it upon himself to slaughter the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi. Not really a Brahminical practice, you would say, right? Yeah. Of course, that's in the history of the Mahabharata. But how about for today? Because this Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it's spoken about 5,000 years ago by Shukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami also, Vyasadeva. But how does it apply today? That the Brahmins, people are accepting Brahmins who have no qualification. So what is a Brahmin's job? We see there's Brahmins who are teachers, right? Teaching is one of the teaching, what do they teach? And they are ministers, advisors to the government, and priests and things like this. So Srila Prabhupada would often give the example of the Brahmin being the head of the social body. So there's Brahmin is the head, the Kshatriyas are the
Administrators.
arms, social
Oh,
body.
sorry.
That's all right. The Vaishyas are the what?
The belly,
Belly, yes, and
Yes, sorry.
Shudras are the legs.
the
So
legs.
in the social body, you have all different parts, and all the parts are important. All the parts are important. So if you lose your leg, it's a big deal. If you lose your arm, if your stomach's messed up, you're a big deal. But of all the parts, if the head, if you lose your head, you're finished. Or if your head is deranged or crazy, mad, then all the activities of the other parts of the body are messed up. So that's the situation today. The head, the teachers, the ministers, the advisors of society are either crazy or non-existent. And therefore, there's no possibility of peace in human society. It's just one conflict, war after another. If you think about it, there's advisors of the government. So the advisors of the government, if they think, the whole purpose of life is to get stuff, more stuff, and particularly if they're being funded by weapons manufacturers, or they're given, so then what are they going to advise? They're going to advise that let's go to war. That's all. There's nothing else. Let's go to war. Best thing to do. Why? You'll get stuff, hopefully, or if you don't, at least you will get, the weapons manufacturers that I represent will get more money for their sense gratification. But the first quality of the Brahmin is Shama, equanimity, equal. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavihastani Shuni Chaiva Svapakesha, Pandita Samadarshana. They see they're not, they don't have a vested interest. They're not trying to give a spin for this, group or that group. They can actually tell it like it is. And telling it like it is means being aware that we're the soul inside the body, we're not the body. And that animals are also alive because of souls. And foreigners are also alive because of souls. And the whole purpose of human life, including government, including education, is to come to the point of transcending our miserable material condition so that we can go back to Godhead. So everything's messed up now because the Brahmins, we'll call it Brahmins by no qualification, just by their position, their advising, their teaching. And so everybody's confused about what to do. And usually when you're confused, if you're like me, you make wrong decisions and you cause trouble when you're confused. So there's that. As a result, the whole society becomes a hellish condition because the Brahmins don't know what's going on. They have no idea. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, the first part of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna and Arjuna are talking, and Arjuna is giving so many recommendations about what the proper thing to do is. And then he admits at a certain point, he says, I have the slightest idea what to do. Dharma samudacheta, karpanya dosho pahata svabhava, prichami cham dharma samudacheta. So mudha means I'm bewildered, and samudha means completely bewildered. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. So you please tell me what I'm supposed to do. So this is a good position of the Kshatriya, taking direction from the Supreme Lord himself, the Supreme Brahman. And there he gives the first thing, the first understanding is we're not the body, we're not American, Chinese, Ukrainian, Russian, black, white, Latino, young or old. Those are all superfluous conditions, misunderstandings. Our real self is the transcendent self that has a great opportunity to experience love beyond our wildest expectations by reconnecting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the instructions of a real Brahman. And a real Brahman is a Vaishnava. Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. A Brahman is one who knows Brahman or Krishna, the Supreme Brahman. This is very important to know too. So those are just some ideas about this verse. I don't know if you have any questions or comments, please.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for this nice class. Very, very nice class. And definitely, as I always say that, it's very educational too. So thank you so much. Would like to ask devotees if any questions, any comments, or, clarification, please do unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can put it in the post and I'll be happy to read your question if you cannot unmute yourself and speak. But if you can, please do so. Prabhu, what caught my attention in the translation that Shiv Prabhupada wrote was the word obedient. And that kind of caught my attention because he's saying, but here is Mother Cow, and like you said, she's speaking for all of us, that we have to be obedient to the system. How can we really understand, Prabhu, what is obedience? Because it can be different meanings for many people.
Yeah. So in order to be obedient, we need to know, first of all, what it is. So, I mean, devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, we're focusing on being obedient to the orders of the spiritual master. So that means first we need to know them and hear about them. which is one of the reasons you're having this Srimad Bhagavatam class every day, or practically every day. Yeah, because that way we get reminded. Because like everybody in this world in Kali Yuga, our memories are very short. So we remember, oh, I was supposed to do that, but I forgot. Yeah. So being constantly reminded is the first step. And then how to be obedient? Well, you know, the different aspects of devotional service. There's 9 different kinds of devotional service. But being in the association of devotees, we encourages us to be obedient, to follow those practices more rigidly. Otherwise, we get distracted by so many other things. So those 2 things are being obedient to me. Do you have an idea about that?
No, actually, that was very helpful, because sometimes, I come across situations where, some devotees, their understanding of obedience is just one track, and then they just do that, and then everything else is being ignored. So I was just wondering, how can we culminate, I guess, kind of put everything together, and probably not just one track, but respect or obey all the tracks, so all the
Yeah. So I got you. So it's like you see those jugglers. I don't know if you've seen jugglers, and they have a little some kind of stick, and they twirl a plate on the end of the stick. Have you seen that? And then they do one, and then they do another. Then they got 6 going all at once. And how do they do that? Well, I can't even do one. But so in Krishna consciousness, there's so many different aspects of being obedient, and we may be good in one area, but not so good in the other area. So one thing is to practice. That's what sadhana means. It's practice. How did the juggler, get to do all those plates at once? He or she practiced that carefully. And it's like, also like when there's a kirtan, there's so many aspects of the kirtan to pay attention to. And of course, the goal of the kirtan is to please Krishna. That's the goal of the kirtan. And there's so many different aspects of that. Focus your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead by hearing the holy name. So in one of the first aspects of kirtan, the first aspects of kirtan, we see that devotees don't even chant during the kirtan. Have you ever noticed that?
Prabhu, actually, I was going to share with you that Saurabh Prabhu and Jit Mitra, when they went to this Mataji's baby shower, and they said that they met you there, and they came back, then the very next day, I think a couple of days after one of our classes, they were sharing with us how you were really mentioning the importance of using our tongue. They just stand in kirtan and they don't sing. They just...
Yeah. Well, the first time I went to India, and I went to some temples, and in the arti, they're just banging a gong. No kirtan. And even if you go to Jagannath Puri and the Rath Yatra, sometimes people, just a lot of noise. We don't hear any kirtan going on. The names have been forgotten. So how does that happen? Well, it happens by us becoming more involved with trying to play an instrument than chanting. And I see that a lot, that, people come and they pick up the kartals or pick up the drum, and they don't chant. Well, they might be playing not nicely or nicely, it doesn't matter. But so there's so many things in the kirtan. There's the volume, there's the tempo, there's what you're chanting, all those things you have to think about, all at the same time. How do you do that? Well, practice.
Prabhu, there's one question in the chat, and then I'll go to Mother Gita. Saurabh said, Hare Krishna Prabhu, you said tolerance is one quality of a devotee or Brahmin, but at certain point, I feel senior devotees keep on tolerating. Neophytes like me will keep offending and seem no chance to go back to Godhead. How do I understand this?
I don't understand the point, the question.
I guess what he's asking is that senior devotees will tolerate him because he's a new, bhakta, whatever. And he feels that when the senior devotees tolerate him, and he feels that, that he keeps on offending the seniors, and then the seniors just keep tolerating, what is the chances of him going back to Godhead? And how can he understand that?
Well, the way to do that, the way to approach that situation is if there's a certain person, senior person that you believe you might have offended, you go to them and said, Prabhu, if I've any way I've offended you, please let me know. Please tell me, because otherwise I'll continue to do that, and my spiritual life will be down. So you please, that's one way to do it. Or another way to do it is, Prabhu, you've seen how I do devotional service, and I'm doing this and that. Can you give any guidance, any suggestion about how I can improve my services that you see? Do things like that. Of course, in the beginning, our chanting and other stuff, our services does have full of faults and sometimes offenses, hopefully not too many offenses. Offenses means, you're actually intending to, sometimes offenses are by inattention, but those that are serious as those that are actually intended to be done. So yeah, those two things. What do you think?
I think that's a very nice way, Prabhu, and I'm waiting for his response, because I think that is the best way to approach and get instructions, as opposed to keep giving or talking. It's like we need to hear more instructions to help us to be better devotee or better servant. Saurabh, what do you think? You can put your comment in the chat and I'll read it out to Vishnugada Prabhu when you get a chance. And Mother Geeta, please, Mother, you have a question, Mother, go ahead.
Or observation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my
Krishna.
humble obeisances. Thank you so much for an enlightening lecture. It's been a long time since I heard your class. As you were talking about, banging instruments in kirtan and not really hearing the holy name. Recently, I was in the temple and it was a festival day, and, very loud instruments were being played. And I was surprised. My Apple Watch gave me a message that if you stay in this environment another 30 minutes, you might go deaf. So that was came to my mind.
Thank you for that. I mean, Jayadvaita Swami, on his personal website, he has a thing about noise-induced hearing loss, which is quite enlightening about that. And so one of my things is, and I like to talk about also, is in kirtan, everything, all the other sounds of the kartal drum, everything should be supporting the voice, the kirtan, the sound of the name. Otherwise, in the Sad Goswami Asikam, it says, Krish ut kirtana gana nartana parno, this loud kirtan, but loud kirtan means the voice, not that the drums and the kartals are so loud that they overwhelm the voice so you can't hear the voice. Of course, in temple, that's why I was thinking that, you go to some places, like when I first went to India, and you can't hear, and there's no kirtan, the people are just, because they couldn't sing loud enough to overcome the sound of the gongs. So they said, well, give it up. Of course, in ISKCON we have microphones, so the drums can be loud and the kartals can be loud and the voice can be even louder by the microphone. They didn't have microphones back then, but anyway. So
yes, thank you. Can I ask?
I wanted to finish one point. So then I was talking with different devotees. There was this very famous kirtan devotee. I don't think he's any longer with us. He used to teach all the kirtan devotees in Mayapur. And he said his training in kirtan was that the drum should be half the sound, the loudness of the voice, and the kartals should be half the sound, the volume of the drums. Whoa, wow, wow. And just to go along with what you're saying, so I was talking about this, and I went to a regular kirtan in Philadelphia, just a regular, wasn't especially loud, but I brought there's a meter you make that measures the decibels. It's called, I forget, a certain meter. Anyway, and it was, like you said, in the hundreds, which is the danger area, even though it wasn't a especially loud kirtan, and you had a especially loud kirtan. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yes, I wish this principle can be followed, voice, then half drum, and then half kartal. Then it would be so melodious and so enchanting. Prabhu, can I ask you one question, please?
Yeah.
So could you please explain what is Brahman? Thank you.
Brahman is a spirit. And there's, as you know, there's three aspects of spirit. The supreme Brahman, Para-Brahman, is Lord Krishna. And Brahman also includes Paramatma and Brahmajyoti. They're all of those are Brahman, but the topmost Brahman, that's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Prabhu, the devotee that asked the question has a follow-up question. He said, but sometimes devotees seem not to share their thoughts, Prabhu, even after asking. So every day I keep saying Vanchaka Patirbhyascha. But till what degree will that prayer go on if I might be committing major offenses?
To what degree was that?
To what degree will that prayer, meaning the Vanchakapatu that he says, can go on if I might be committing major offenses? I guess what he's saying is that if he keeps, to what degree will that prayer, asking for, offering obeisances, how long will it sustain him? How long can he go on with it if he's still simultaneously committing major offenses?
Well, in any case, we can continue to offer obeisances to devotees in any case. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami, his sadhan was, it included offering 1,000 obeisances, the obeisances to 1,000 devotees every day. My God. So continuing that, but if there's it seems to me that the question is that he's asking devotees, can if I made some offense, please forgive me, but they don't say. They don't
share their thoughts of if he has committed offense. So
why is that? And why does he think that?
That's the question. So I think he's
if somebody asks me something and say, well, they don't, if they ask me a question and they're afraid that I'm going to get mad or something, then they may not want to hear. They might just say, okay, forget it. Does that make sense? If the person is afraid that there's going to be a bad reaction to, if they actually tell you the truth, that you stepped on my foot, but if I tell you that, then you get mad at me, so that I won't tell you. I don't know if does that make sense? What's going on?
Yeah, I think, Prabhu, like I can use myself an example that if I have committed an offense to you, I come up to you and I offer my obeisances and I ask you for forgiveness, and then or guidance or whatever, and then but you don't share or don't tell me what I have done. If I have done anything, it may not be you have, it may be you have from your point, but I'm thinking I have. So I keep offering Vanchakaptru, every time, but you haven't told me what I have done, if I've done anything wrong. The point is, you may not know, you may not think that I've done anything wrong. It's just in my mind.
Well, yeah, that could be one side, or it could be the other side. They don't really want to you don't really want to hear from them what you did wrong. If you did something wrong, you don't really want to hear it. You just want to go through the motions. That happens. That happens. That happens. Yeah. So then, do you? It's important that we really want to hear it. We really want to hear what the person is saying. I mean, sometimes you just want a person who's asked for forgiveness, or for don't I didn't I'm sorry, I don't want any offense. I haven't committed offenses to you. Doesn't really want to know what the offense is. They just want to just forgive me, but they don't want to change. Does that make sense? It happens.
I
You- what-
think, Prabhu, it's not forgive me, I don't want to change. Forgive me, and the other person is not telling the one who feels that he has offended what is the correction.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be both ways.
Yes.
The person doesn't really want to hear it anyway. They just want to say, just say I forgive you. Okay. So then you don't have to really, and that kind of absolves the person seeking correction from having to change, and that happens that way. But if the person who's really does want to become free from the offense, then they say, no, please, can you please explain to me further what I can do? Yeah, come on, please help me in my spiritual life, because otherwise I'm going to continue going down this dangerous path. Please help me. Just the other day, I had this situation. I mean, it wasn't like a big deal, but someone did stuff that why did you do that? Why? I was leading a kirtan and they stopped me after 5 minutes. And I said, why'd you stop me? Okay, well, all right. If you don't. And so the person then later said, oh, I'm sorry if I offended you. I said, well, not a big deal. It's just, no, it's not that big a deal. But, so I said, I just wanted to continue chanting. He said, oh, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Well, I don't know why they stopped me. I have no idea. But for some reason they stopped me. I don't know. Okay. But he wanted the forgiveness, but he wasn't ready to think about, well, what was that? What was that about? I mean, he could tell me, but I didn't like the way you okay, fine. That's fine. I don't mind that. But what was that about? I don't know. I still don't know. But really the thing was they wanted to get the forgiveness, or or whatever. Not that I have to forgive somebody, but they wanted, but didn't want to really look at what was going on. Does that make sense? Does that make sense at all?
Yes, Prabhu, he said that helps.
I hope so. Anyway. And
Prabhu. Thank you so much.
and you know what
Yes,
one
Prabhu,
other
please go
thing
ahead.
is, oftentimes one person thinks I've been offended, and the other person, the person who's offended, who's offended, and the other person who's offended thinks, well, actually that person offended me, right? Because they're the offender, not me. So anyway, those things is good to just sometimes just offer obeisances and just say, hey, look, I offend, whatever problems I did, whatever, please help me get over that. Yeah.
Thank
It
you.
happens. It happens in all in life, in all different situations. Sometimes you find. I remember when I was talking to a new devotee, and his father and his uncle, his paternal uncle, they hadn't talked to each other in 30 years because there was some funny business dealing between them, and so they got offended. One person got offended, the other. They cut off the relationship. Well, if we cut off our relationships with devotees, it's dangerous because we need devotee association. So how can we stay in it? And because it's a society is not that big. The being able to have positive, devotional, loving relationships among devotees is important for our spiritual growth and a spiritual health. So it's a very important point that the devotee asked. Yeah, Sarah asked how to do that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Any other questions from devotees? anything that's coming to your mind that you would like clarification on, please do unmute yourself. And I'm going down the list. If there isn't, we thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful
Krishna.
class. Vanchoka Pribhyascha,
Vishnu
Kripasindabevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo
See, we
Namaha.
just offered obeisances, offered obeisances to each other. That's it. Okay.
Yes.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Have a wonderful day. Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.